Good morning, good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome back to Spill the Tea Lou. For those of you that are new here, my name is Lou. I'm a Manchester United fan. And today we are going to be talking about Alejandro Garnacho. Now, as some of you will know, I do take a player every week and I deep dive into them. So we've talked recently actually about Jadon Sancho, and Alejandro Garnacho has been on my list. He's been on there for a little while. I have been doing my best to avoid this video because I have so many mixed feelings about this player. But after this weekend, he's gone and done it, the little bugger, with 2 assists in 1 match, and I cannot avoid talking about him any longer. So, let's get stuck into it. Alejandro Garnacho is a Spanish-born football player who currently plays for the Argentinian national team. He was actually born in Madrid and played in the youth setups of both Getafe and Atletico Madrid before then moving into the youth setup at Manchester United. So, at the youth setup at Manchester United, Alejandro Garnacho was absolutely smashing it. He was the next big thing. Everybody was talking about him. This Argentinian wonder kid coming through the ranks. He was the dog's bollocks. Now, for those of you that don't know, that's a good thing. I've just realised that might be a unique phrase. That is a compliment. It means he's very, very good. Okay? So, he actually then was so good that he was moved and was on the bench for several matches of the first team with Manchester United, and Erik ten Hag gave Alejandro Garnacho his first team debut for Manchester United at the age of 17. Now that took place in the 22-23 season. Obviously, that is absolutely massive. Now during that season, he kind of moved between the senior and the youth teams, and he did make several appearances for the senior team. By the 23-24 season, he was an established first team player and actually changed his number. And that's how you know, isn't it? That's how you know you've done it. So he's got his first team number, and that's actually the season that he scored that unbelievable overhead bicycle kick, which I believe was against Everton, that won him the Puskas Award. So he had the world at his feet. Everybody was talking about him. We as Manchester United fans, in the most part, were incredibly excited about this player that we had in our hands, and he was honestly smashing it. There were obviously, and there will always be some people who maybe have doubts, have criticisms, and that's totally fine. But for the most part, universally it was accepted. Alejandro Garnacho was a wonder kid, and we were lucky to have him. Now, as time went on, and we move into the 24-25 season, by the 10th of October, I have some notes over here, but I'm struggling to read my own writing. But by October of the 24-25 season, Garnacho was making his 100th first team appearance for Manchester United. Now let's just rewind a little bit. So he was 17 and made his debut in the 22-23 season. He then made some appearances during the rest of that season, but really didn't establish himself in the first team as a consistent first team player until the 23-24 season. By 24-25, in October, he was making his 100th appearance. That's a lot of appearances in a very short amount of time for a very young man. He was incredibly talented. Some people won't agree with that, but I will not brook any arguments. He was incredibly talented. But that's a lot of appearances in a short amount of time under severe pressure. Okay, so we're just going to hold on to that thought and we'll come back to it. Now, I have my notes because I don't want to get the dates wrong. By November, most of you will have seen the clip that circulated literally the whole of social media, where Alejandro Garnacho is interacting with Manchester United fans. He has taken his time to interact with the fans. He's signing autographs. He's doing the right thing. He is interacting with the people that want him to do well and that support our club. Okay? So that's not something we would ever criticise a player for. In fact, sometimes we criticise players that don't do that. So in this moment, Alejandro Garnacho is doing exactly what he should be doing. At that moment, a Manchester United fan or someone who was after views on their content, approached Garnacho and made some remarks to him. Now, whether or not you agree with the remarks that were made, time and place. That was not the time nor the place. Wrong. Big bad. Now, he then scored in the subsequent match, and Bruno Fernandes, as his captain, came out and said that Garnacho did not want to celebrate scoring that goal because he felt he had lost the faith of some of the fans as a result of this confrontation. Now, there are two quite diverse schools of thought on that, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in the middle, but the two, I suppose, polar opposites are he needs to have the right mentality, that shouldn't get in his head, he needs to move past it, that's going to happen, he needs to just deal with it, he shouldn't let it affect him in that way. Okay, so that's one side. The other side is that fan was completely wrong, it was the wrong time and place, it shouldn't have happened, of course it's going to affect him, he's very young, he's very impressionable, and the very people that are supposed to have his back and help him and protect him are the people that have it in for him. Obviously that's going to impact him. Now, I recently did a video on my channel, maybe some of you have seen it, talking about whether players these days have a strong enough mentality, whether some of them are a little bit too soft, whether if they can't deal with this kind of criticism or these sort of situations, this is the correct club or career for them. That's not black and white though. I think this person who calls themselves a Manchester United fan express their opinion, which they're entitled to do, in completely the wrong way. I think wrong time and place, whether the point is valid or not. I would have liked Garnacho to be a bit more robust rather than letting it impact him. I would like Garnacho to have been aware of what was said and then moved past it, celebrated his goal. However, we go back to the fact that he moved into the first team at 17 and then had already played 100 games a season and a half more or less later. Very young, very impressionable, and to be honest, when you rise like that, it's such a culture shock. He went from nobody knowing who he was, never having heard of him before, to being in everybody's mouths, to being on the lips of so many people, and potentially not having the right support structure around him in order to usher him through that phase. So I'm probably in the middle. I see a bit of both. I don't think that fans should be, silenced or vetoed from having their opinion. However, I think there's a way to express that opinion. I think the players need to be more robust. However, we do need to remember that they're humans and that there's context. So this all impacted him, but it just really, the importance of it is that it started to feed the fire that was starting to go, because he wasn't performing at the level he had been before. He had come in like a superstar. He was on fire. And then obviously as a younger player, his form started to dip and go up and down, and fans had opinions. As well as that, the ego had started to come in. He had everybody chanting his name, everybody telling him he was the next big thing, everybody telling him he had the world at his feet, because he did. But then ego started. And while his ego was growing, his performances were dipping, and then he has this interaction with the fan unexpectedly when he's doing something good, and it's all starting to build. And then you have social media starting to run wild. Everybody's got opinions, and they're loud opinions. The media are starting to come in on it, and still, it doesn't appear that he has the right structure, the right people, the right supports in place around him to guide him and help him through this. It's unclear if he wanted to be guided, because if he was at the point where his ego had become so blown up and he had surrounded himself with yes men and women and people telling him he was fantastic, maybe he didn't want support when it was being offered. Maybe it wasn't being offered. We don't know. It's probably a little bit of both if we're being fair. But so things really started to snowball from here. Okay, things started to really get volatile is probably the best way to put it. By December, of this same year, so we went October, November, December. By December, Erik ten Hag was no longer in post. Ruben Amorim had come in, and both Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford were dropped from the squad, not just from the team, from the squad for the Manchester derby. And this really was a line in the sand. And there was a lot of rumours at this time, and had been for several years, but they were really on fire at this time, about poor attitudes, about big egos, about just really the wrong mentality for the type of club that we are. We had talked for many, many years about player power at my club, Manchester United, and it just seemed to be escalating and escalating and escalating. And Ruben Amorim seemed to come in and go, do you know what? We need to just demolish it and start over. Get rid of all of this. So when these two players were dropped for the derby, it really felt like a moment in time. By the summer then of 2025, Alejandro Garnacho signed for Chelsea for a fee of around £40 million, and the deal was done. At the time, I was unsure if Chelsea was the right move for Garnacho, and it seemed that a lot of Chelsea fans felt this way as well. He got a very mixed reception to his signing for Chelsea. There were some United fans that thought this was an enormous mistake. We were going to live to regret it. Why are we moving this player, this really talented player? Whatever you want to take about attitude, mentality and the whole lot, he's talented. Why are we letting him move to a rival? And whether Chelsea and us are rivals at the moment is questionable as well. But to a rival, another team in the Premier League. Why would we do that? We've other fans of Manchester United going, well, do you know what? Get him gone and I don't care to wear. I don't appreciate his attitude. The whole wearing another team's jersey thing with the name of a player who has publicly fallen out with the manager on the back, it's just a mess. Get him gone at any costs. Doesn't matter. And then on the other side, you've got Chelsea fans going, we don't want that mess at our club. We don't need that kind of uproar. We don't need that kind of attention, the bad attention. We don't need that sort of PR floating around our club. We don't want that attitude in our team. Bad idea. You do have other Chelsea fans going, no, this boy is talented. Manchester United were the problem. Manchester United didn't nurture him correctly. Manchester United are the reason that Alejandro Garnacho has not been performing, and we at Chelsea are going to help him do better. We have so much discourse and so much disagreement in both the United and the Chelsea fan bases. Then, Garnacho did not hit the ground running at Chelsea the way he did at Manchester United. We had fans, again all over social media, expressing their opinion. So I'm going to read some of the screenshots that I have out from X. So these are not my opinions. These are the opinions of Chelsea fans on X. Just about a week and a half ago, I have these screenshots from. Okay, so I'm going to look over here while I read them out. Cannot believe we paid money for Garnacho. Neto is also a waste of money, but he looked capable at Wolves at least, implying that Garnacho didn't look capable at Manchester United. Who made the decision to sign Garnacho deserves the sack. It's the most stupid signing we made last season. Garnacho may be our worst signing ever. United fans actually undersold just how bad he is. Some United fans. The fact that we bought Garnacho is absolutely scandalous. Garnacho was such a useless signing, he has to be some money laundering scheme behind that one. That one seems a bit extreme, but look, people get emotional when it comes to football. Now, obviously, opinions have changed slightly. So, I have been quite consistent that Garnacho's time at Manchester United was up. There was too much water under the bridge. There was too much damage done, I think, on both ends of the relationship. I think the way he acted out and the whole Villa jersey and everything else, I think was a real problem. And I think he probably had a deep mistrust of the club and didn't feel that they had nurtured him correctly. And we've made that mistake with several players. So there's probably right and wrong on both ends of this. So I think that relationship was really broken and I don't think it was going to be repaired. So I do think moving on was the right thing for him. However, I have been consistent in saying that I think Garnacho is a talented player. And if he's matched with the right manager who can pull it out of him, if he puts the right people around him to help him grow and not just to boost his ego, he really can be something special. I believe that. And I think maybe at Chelsea, they're starting to find the key to Garnacho. And I hope they are. If I take my team out of it, I hope they are. As a United fan, I want him to fail, obviously, because I'm petty. But as just a football fan, as someone who saw him come and smash it, I don't want that to be wasted. And I really hope that he can show people what was in there all along. Now, I've read out the negative stuff. Fast forward a week and a half, and he is 2 assists. 2 assists in one game, which is massive. Now, I'm going to pull up, I have some nice screenshots now of some nice things that suddenly people had to say about Alejandro Garnacho. So, Alejandro Garnacho is now in the top 5 Premier League players for goals and expected goals and assists per 90 this season. He is Erling Haaland, Estevao, Mateta, Alejandro Garnacho, and Enzo Fernandez. So he's in really bloody good company there. Now, according to Chelsea history, this is the account on X if you want to see this tweet, Alejandro Garnacho becomes the second Argentine after Enzo Fernandez to provide 2 assists in a single match. That's pretty impressive. Other notable Argentine Chelsea players such as Sebastian Veron, Crespo and Higuain have not recorded 2 assists in a single match. So that's pretty up there. We have Football Spectator, some of you probably do know this account on X, so a pretty big account. Alejandro Garnacho is shining bright at Chelsea with 2 assists versus Wolves. Is Maresca turning him into a star? Is Maresca turning Garnacho back into a star? The Argentine is finally showing the spark that made him one of English football's hottest prospects. Now, I did a video recently about Harry Maguire, about his mentality, about his self-belief, about getting his head down and working, and about now the redemption arc that he is experiencing. When the adversity first came, Garnacho struggled. I personally don't believe he dealt with it well, and I don't think he had the people around him who are helping guide him to deal with it well. From his move to Chelsea, it appears that he has better people around him, that maybe Chelsea as a club is in a better position to be able to support and nurture him and give him what he needs. Maybe Maresca as a coach is in a better situation and has a better understanding of this individual player and is now able to get the best out of him. So my question is, were the people who said that Alejandro Garnacho was never going to make it, he wasn't good enough, and that he had already hit his peak, were they correct? Was this just a blip and next week he's going to fall back down? Or is this the start of his redemption arc? Please get your thoughts in the comments down below. This is a really controversial topic. He's a really controversial figure. I personally have so many mixed emotions on this. I really want to know what all of you think. Let me know what's your club. Are you United? Are you Chelsea? Are you biased? Are you a neutral looking in on this? Where do you stand and what do you think? Please like the video if you've made it this far and please subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you all again very, very soon.